This video from Aptitude Solutions shows how our multi-currency app adds full multi-currency functionality to Dynamics 365 Business Central. Let's take a quick look at how this works. So from the system, the standard system has these three currencies built into the subledgers, but when you post something from a subledger like a vendor ledger, like a purchase invoice, into the general ledger, you lose the foreign currency information and it just goes in as a local currency amount into the general ledger. So what we've done is we've kind of extended the general ledger and we've stored the foreign currency information in the general ledger, which means that any account that has a foreign currency balance could be revalued in the general ledger, as well as you've got the information on what those foreign currency balances are, and you don't have to try and manually kind of calculate exchange gains and losses for any balance sheet account that's not coming from one of those three subledgers. This meets both GAAP, generally accepted accounting practice, where the transaction currency calculates the local currency, and it also meets IAS 21 when the additional reporting currency gets calculated from the local currency. This is also known as presentation currency in IAS 21. Now, any account in the chart of accounts can be suppressed from being revalued from the transaction currency. We've added a field in the chart of accounts page which allows any account to be suppressed. So for example, a fixed asset or a share capital or a retained earnings account, any of those non-monetary accounts can be suppressed to meet GAAP requirements, but then they will get revalued when the additional reporting currency is revalued. So let's take a look at Business Central. And so I'm in a multi-currency company and I'm going to open up the General Ledger Entries table. And so you can see in here we've got this amount TCY, which is the transaction currency amount, and also the transaction currency code. So we've got different currencies going in here, and this is right in the General Ledger. And so the advantage of that is that any account that has a foreign currency balance, which is captured in this transaction currency field, can be revalued. So it's not shown in this level of the chart of accounts, but let's go down here to this this account here, this long-term bank loan, and I'll just click on this link, and I have an entry in here that's 2.4 million euros, which got converted to 2.76 million Canadian. And so this is right in the GL, and that means that I can now revalue this account. If the euro exchange rates change, I can revalue it automatically without doing any kind of offside or manual calculations, which you would have to do in the standard system. Just quickly show you in the chart of accounts card, down at the bottom of this page, we've added a suppress revaluation field. So if you want to stop this account from being revalued, you just turn on that flag. And for the exchange rate adjustment field, this is standard functionality here. This is not standard functionality. This was added by our app, but this field here, we recommend setting this to adjust the additional currency amount, and then that will revalue the ACY amounts from the LCY field to meet IAS 21. Now in our app we've modified the exchange rate table to make it simpler. So the standard one is a little bit confusing to many people. This one, you just put the LCY rate in here for whatever the currency code is. So this is a US currency being converted to local currency Canadian. So when you put a transaction in, it will use this rate here in this column, and when you revalue the ledger, it's going to use this rate over here. So that just makes it a little bit more intuitive. And then at the bottom of the currency card, I've picked the US dollar one because in this company, the ACY is US dollars. So this, at the bottom of the card, the realized GL gain account and the realized GL loss account, this is where you would put the other comprehensive income. This is standard functionality in Microsoft, but you know, this is not widely known that that's what you would use those two fields for. Now, if we look at the ledger revaluation, we've created this slightly modified ledger revaluation process that's mostly standard functionality, but it uses our modified exchange rate table, and it also revalues any account in the balance sheet, not just the customers, vendors and bank accounts, but any account in the GL. And this preview posting feature, this is something that Microsoft added recently. It's a very nice feature. It lets you revalue without posting to see what the results are going to be. So here's a preview posting of the ledger revaluation. You can see this last entry here is other comprehensive income. So that's the ledger revaluation process. It's fairly simple to run. And we've also added what I think is probably the best feature of all here, which is this currency exposure report, which lets you see, like, do a what if calculation, like what if the exchange rates move by a certain amount. So I'm going to pick the euro and I just put a date in here. When I click on this field, it brings in the system exchange rate, and then I can put in my what if rate. So I'm going to say, what if the euro goes from 1.72 to 1.80, and what's the impact on April 30th? So I'm going to run the report, refresh the totals, and so down here I can see that if the euro did go from this rate to this rate, I would get a exchange loss of $195,000, which is a pretty significant loss. And I can scroll down this report and see where this exchange gain and loss is coming from. So this is a small gain coming from a bank account, a small loss there in the accrued interest account, a small loss in that vendor account, and here's the bulk of it. The $192,000 of that loss is coming from this long-term bank loan. And so I can see exactly where, you know, which accounts are giving me a gain or a loss, and for each currency and different what-if scenarios. So I think this is actually a very powerful report, and it allows you to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen or what kind of exposure you've got to movements in exchange rates. So lastly, I just want to put up our contact information. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. The person to contact is Louise Colwell, and her email address is there at the bottom right, info@aptitude.solutions. Thank you for watching this video.